Alright, today I'm reviewing the Ibanez S6621AH Prestige guitar. This is the new model of S Prestige for this year, 2026. It's in this kind of gray color as you can see here. I've wanted a made in Japan S series for a long time now, so I'm really excited to talk about this guitar. This is my own guitar. I bought it with my own money, so this video is not sponsored, of course. I'm free to say whatever I want. So let's kick it off. First, here's a full mixed little demo song so you can hear how it sounds. Alright, let's talk about the quality and feel of this guitar. This is super high quality, as you would expect from a made in Japan Ibanez. None of the wiring or controls have failed, none of the pots have come loose, the jack hasn't come loose, the switch works perfectly. The strap buttons are pretty snug. And if you look on the back, it has locking tuners, and these work as expected. I love locking tuners on pretty much every guitar. They make changing strings just so much easier. They give you some good peace of mind. Now, what I usually have is a guitar with a double locking floating tremolo, and I like to block them, which is a completely easily reversible mod, but it makes the tuning stability just so high. And of course, a properly set up floating bridge is very stable, but it makes guitars rock solid. And I do have some guitars with fixed bridges and locking tuners, and the nice thing about it is that it's just so much easier to change strings, which is great on the fly. Like if you're playing a gig or you're streaming or something and you pop a string, you can just go real quick, grab another string. If you brought some spare strings, put one on, tune it up, and that's it. Even with a blocked tremolo bridge, you still have to kind of fiddle with the nut and then reattach the string, all that stuff. It's also great too if you don't have too much time. It could be the difference between changing strings or not if you're super busy, because you might have a day job, other responsibilities like kids, errands to run before stores close, Anyway, moving on from the tuners, the neck has that Prestige coating that you would expect. It feels nice, it's not dry, it's not sticky, it's pretty smooth, pretty fast. And the truss rod works perfectly fine too, no issues there. It's not a huge inconvenience, but the truss rod cover, it's that plate with the screws on it. It is kind of annoying if you're doing a lot of truss rod adjustments, just leave it off. Make sure you put the little screws and cover in a bag so your kids or pets don't try to eat them. But the truss rod itself works just fine. Overall, this is a solid and confidence-inspiring guitar. Now let's talk about the playability of this guitar, and first and foremost I want to talk about the weight, because as you know, the thing about the S series is it has a super thin body and it's billed as being very lightweight. And yes, of course it is light. That does make it possible to play longer sessions standing up. It's also nice too if you're sitting down recording ideas and you have your guitar by your side and you're doing something on the computer, then you need to pick it up and like plink something out or record a line and then put it back down. Just that lighter weight makes that so much more pleasant over the hours. Of course, it's not impossible to play a heavier guitar and do that, but this just makes it more pleasant. Little things add up. This guitar also is well balanced despite being light. And that's remarkable because not every S series with a fixed bridge is perfectly balanced. This S671, is just a little bit neck heavy. Now, playing the guitar itself, it is extremely playable. It is that thin Ibanez Prestige neck you've come to expect. I'd say the neck profile is closer to other Prestiges in this price point. So it's gonna feel just a little bit different than, say, an RG550 Genesis. Now, the neck is plenty thin and it is fun to play thumb behind the neck style, but if you are a super shredder, and I'm not saying I'm some kind of amazing virtuoso or anything, but if this is you, it is pretty easy to hit the back of your hand on the lower horn, as you can see here. If you're playing that thumb behind the neck, like your thumb in the middle of the neck there, you're really going at it, you will bump that lower horn. But if you're playing standing up, your thumb's a bit higher, it's not going to be an issue whatsoever. Now, the interesting thing is I prefer stainless steel frets on my guitars. I like how smooth they are. The durability gives me peace of mind. It's fun when you're doing vibrato, you can feel how smooth it is. Or if you're doing bends. And so I prefer that, but when I'm playing this, I don't really miss the stainless steel at all. These frets feel like they're made of quality material. Maybe it's a different alloy than the typical. Maybe there's more zinc in it. I don't know, I'm not a material scientist. And then moving on from the frets to the fretboard, the Rosewood, I typically prefer ebony. I like how smooth that feels when you're really digging in. And it does happen. I know there's going to be a million people jumping out in the comments saying, oh, you're not supposed to touch the fretboard. You're doing it wrong, blah, blah, blah. But if you're really going at it, you know, you do feel the fretboard. But this Rosewood has a tight grain and it feels smoother than I thought it would. It's not the end of the world if the Rosewood was rougher. I do like Rosewood in general. But this was interesting. So maybe it's tightly grained. Maybe they sanded it down all smooth. But moving from the neck back to the body, I covered how light it was, but let's talk about the body shape. It is pretty thin. So compared to an RG, it is going to be a different playing experience. Even compared to like a Stratocaster or something, it's going to feel way different. The guitar will sit closer to you because the body's thinner. And I don't mind it so much because my first Ibanez was an S470 from 2006. It was the charcoal brown, even though it was red. So for me, it actually took me a lot of time to get used to an RG. So this is like returning to an old friend for me. The one thing I dislike about this body when playing is that just because of the shape and I don't know where the strap button is, even though this isn't a unique place for a strap button, when you're sitting playing classical style like this, the strap button does go right into your leg. So that is kind of annoying. Now let's talk about the sound of this guitar, and this has the quintessential DiMarzios that you find in Ibanez. It has the tone zone in the bridge and the Air Norton in the neck, and I am a fan of this combination. A long time ago, I was not a fan, but over the years I've grown to like it. Now I really love it. It doesn't have that modern tone to it. They're pretty good all-around pickups, I'd say. And yes, you can get the modern sound if you've got your settings and your plugins and all that. Now, does this guitar sound thin because it's thinner or heavy because it's thicker in the middle? I don't know. I'm not going to comment on if the body does or does not have an effect on the sound. I can just confirm that I think it does sound good. It does have the HH pickup configuration and it has a 5-way switch here. I could get away with a 3-way switch as like 98% of the time I'm either full bridge or full neck. So that would meet my needs, but having the other positions is nice. So here's how it sounds in isolation. I'm gonna show you a clean tone, a rhythm tone, and a lead tone. And of course, if you want to hear it in a full mix, reference the full mix song towards the beginning of this video. All right, so overall, now this guitar is interesting. I did mention I prefer, stainless steel frets and an ebony fretboard. If I'd gone just based off of the specs of this guitar versus the price compared to other things, I might have missed out. I might have passed this guitar up. This reminds me of the RGA 622XH in a way. It doesn't have stainless steel frets and it doesn't have ultra modern pickups. It has the tone zone in the bridge. So if I judged it based off of those things compared to the price, I also would have passed up this guitar, but this has been pretty much one of my best playing guitars. I've got my RG5320 and some other high-end guitars too, but if I had to give those up and could only keep this, I'd be perfectly fine with that. But just like with that RGA and back to the S series here, the price, you might be wondering, well, why does it cost that much and not have stainless steel? Why does it have the rosewood? And you can see once you play the guitar that the price comes from the build quality, the craftsmanship. And they didn't cheap out on the materials just because they're not what's currently in vogue with the modern crowd. You can tell that the fret wire material they used, as I mentioned before, is stronger than typical. So it almost gives me an existential crisis in a way. Knowing what I know now, I'm inclined to look at guitars with the stainless steel frets with the ebony fretboards. But thinking back to when I had my S470, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know it was even possible to have frets made out of stainless steel. All I wanted was a fixed bridge and 24 frets. And of course I wanted to be better at playing guitar. Maybe someday I'll be good. And so this guitar, it has that. It has 24 frets, whereas the old S series had 22. It is a higher quality guitar. If we separate the modern day checklist from the price, then yes, this is worth the money. You really have to ask yourself, what's the most important thing in a guitar for you? Because at the end of the day, these are tools to make music. You need to find what works for you. There is no one size fit all. Do you need to have the specs that are currently popular? And I'm not knocking those. Maybe you really do need more modern voiced pickups for your sound. Maybe it sounds the best with your playing technique, with your equipment. Maybe you know you're not going to be able to do fret work for a very long time. Maybe you're going to be touring a lot or something like that. And so you would like more durable frets than just the standard nickel silver. Or do you want to ignore what a guitar should be and you want to go for the best version of something you already like? Or maybe you want a combination of all those things or some of those things. Of course, this guitar isn't all compromises. It has a bunch of stuff I do like. The fixed bridge is a huge plus, the Gibraltar Standard 3. And I made a video on this bridge comparing it to the Gibraltar Standard 2. Not with this guitar, but same model bridge. And they're close enough. It is a bit easier to work on this bridge. You may or may not be able to see it, but you can use a Phillips head screwdriver to adjust the intonation, for example. You needed to use some kind of weird Allen key on the Gibraltar Standard 2. Not the end of the world, just something to keep in mind. I compromised on the S470 I had in that it was an awesome guitar, but it had a floating bridge. So that's pretty much how I learned how I liked blocked floating bridges. And you know, having a robust fixed bridge with locking tuners is pretty nice. As I mentioned, string changes are super easy. It's a pretty simple system. You're not going to accidentally lose any string locking blocks. You're not going to have to mess with springs or anything. And the setup is much easier. And yes, I have set up a bunch of floating bridges. Overall, is this a good guitar? Yes, it is fantastic. I absolutely can do everything I need with this guitar. It's easy playing, it sounds good, and I think it looks good too. Is this guitar worth the money though? And that's a harder question, and it's going to depend on what you like. If you want the most cutting edge specs, so stainless steel frets, modern pickups, ebony fretboard, or maybe rich light, maybe you're into that, then this guitar might not be for you. And if you're looking for all those features at a certain price point, at a more budget-friendly price point, then this guitar is definitely not for you. You know, even if you can afford it, you have to be mindful of other expenses you have too. So music software, strings, gas money to get to the gig, etc. This guitar does have nice features, don't get me wrong. What you're paying for is the execution in building it. It does, to me, feel more comfortable to play than guitars at a lower price point, no matter the specs. But to directly say one is absolutely better than the other feels like it's comparing apples to oranges. But what do you think? Is this guitar a little overpriced? Is it the best of the S series? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Be sure to comment down below. Of course, this is YouTube, so I have to say the YouTube things. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, print out every frame and mail it. If you're looking for something cool to listen to, I'm on all major streaming services, Heisey Productions, and as always, peace.